We're excited to welcome Brett and have him share some knowledge. Sorry about that, Brett. Welcome to Marketing for the Now.
Hello, everyone. Thrilled
Hey, Brett,
to be
how are
here. You? And guys, listen, just to start off, Gary, I know you were a busy guy, but you know, when I did a little research last night, all these recent announcements, Constellation, getting into the baseball business, getting into the gaming business, I think as of yesterday. So congrats on all your success, all the great things you and your company are doing. I continue to be amazed. And then Roy, I understand that you're from Alabama. And when I was at NASCAR, I used to make it to Alabama, you know, to Talladega.
Yes.
I promised one of my dear friends, Deontay Wilder, that I will visit one of his upcoming training camps. So I plan on getting to Alabama sooner than later.
Trust me, you don't want to visit nothing Deontay Wilder doing. You're going to leave 4 pounds lighter, all that sweating and training that boy did.
Hey, listen, as Gary knows, I'm a big boxing fan. So it'll be a big moment for me to visit his camp.
Well, I will watch you two box.
In your home state.
Let me take that segue. Brett has been one of the individuals I've known the longest in my transition to the marketing and business world from the wine world. We met actually when Brett was with the Nets and they were in New Jersey on their transition. And it's really, like, let me just be very frank, it's been love at first sight. And so I'm very excited that Brett's here. Brett, you're such a tour de force, you know, in general as a human, which is why I adore you. What's been the biggest challenge for you? Just, I think, you know, we're talking a lot about D&I here, we're talking a lot of business. I actually think this is an interesting question for you as somebody who's so on the go, so intense, winning mentality, people mentality. Like, what's been the biggest challenge for you? Because I think there's a lot of diverse people watching right now, from entrepreneurs to startup to executives to Fortune 500. For you personally, just a fun question to start off with. What's been the biggest challenge and what's been the most exciting part? Actually, oh, wait a minute, I actually like this that I never would have thought of. What's been the biggest pro and con as we're, you know, 4 months into this thing?
It's a great question. I was never a believer in working remotely. You know, I'm a pretty disciplined guy, pretty formal in my approach to business. And I gravitated to it. You know, I found that I was productive. People in the company were productive. It was something that, you know, ultimately I enjoyed. I think the negative part of it was the monotonousy. You know, as you said, I like to move around. I'm no different than you. You know, no meetings, no travel. I miss the engagement with my colleagues. I mean, we were doing Zooms every morning, but there's nothing that replaces that true connectivity in the office, that client rapport when you're talking to brands and different businesses that you engage with. So that was a bit of a challenge for me, but overall it was a pretty good experience. Now, what I was most excited about, and we are back in the office now as of last week.
You are?
Yes, okay. We are. We took this time to think about how do we reimagine the business? How do we reinvent the business? How do we diversify our revenue streams? How do we better prepare, if you will, for the new norm? And I have spent a lot of time with my colleagues and our board thinking about all those things. And in the coming weeks, we'll make some announcements with respect to how we're going to diversify Roc Nation and get into different types of businesses that we think will thrive in the new norm. So we use this time to our advantage, and I'm happy we took that approach.
I love that. Roy?
As you're starting to reopen, what are you battling? Like, what's the biggest challenge in just getting back into the office and then still dealing with clients that themselves are remote?
Well, Roy, we took a phased approach. We opened up last week for only those that had physical offices. This week, those that are in common areas, you know, we're welcoming back into the office. The board and our operations team spent an enormous amount of time over the last couple of months developing protocols. As we all know, it's all new. There isn't a best practice. There isn't a blueprint. But we outsourced a lot of thinking. And I think what we've done effectively here is we've created our own bubble. Our employees feel very safe. We're doing mandatory testing when you enter the building. Temperature checks, social distancing. We've reconfigured the office in some respects, decals on the floors. I mean, we've put a lot of measures in place to to show our employees that we're an employee first culture here. I think the biggest anxiety, candidly, is, the things we don't control, and that's how people arrive and how they depart. Outside of that, we think we've controlled the environment pretty effectively.
Let me get this question in because I'm dying to hear from you, and I'm sure you're gonna have a big insight. Live events, huge part of Roc Nation.
Yes.
Basically, I'm a very little kind of like business secret of mine is my speaking career really subsidized the fact that I could build this Vayner empire. Like I, don't pay myself as much, like pour money into the business because I'm able to live off of my speaking. That completely went away, and I had to reconfigure and think about things on that front. I speak to a lot of artists, as you know, Brett, and a lot of them are worried. I think people are very confused on where some of the economics sit in the entertainment world. Obviously Roy brought it up right at the top of the show. Comedians, Chris Rock wanted to do everything, so you'd go to the show because the economics are very real. What's the future of live events? What are you seeing? What are you hearing from artists, whether they're yours or others? This is a big part of Roc Nation's business, I assume. How are you and the team thinking about that?
Well, listen, the live event business will come back. I mean, that's for sure. And I think we're all playing the long ball game here. You look at some of the forecasts, whether they be promoters or, event companies and venues. I mean, I think sometime in spring, maybe first or second quarter 21 is when we'll see some live events.
Are you feeling like Q2 2021 seems like the beginning?
Yeah, I think that's where everyone's targeting,
so
because you got to announce the tours, right? The routing. I mean, it takes time to get up and running again. I obviously was in the live event business overseeing Barclays and other venues in the marketplace, and the venues need to get ready. I mean, I just read yesterday that... Actually,
I apologize for interrupting. Isn't it going to be very challenging? Because the NBA, you have to assume, is not going to start up in October. Obviously, when you're an arena, you've got your home teams and you navigate around that. It might be a little bit of a pickle if, for say, the NBA starts in, you may not know their schedule until much later, right?
That's true. And having been in contact with a lot of venues, there's a lot of scenario management going on and driven by the core tenants in the building, to your point.
Yeah.
But, you can route around, those events, no different than what has historically happened. But, venue operations is going to have to rethink that whole consumer experience. They're going to have to do things very differently. You think about the culinary experience. Grab and go is what people are going to do. Those chef table experiences, the premium offering is probably not going to be on the table, at least in the near future. You think about ingress and egress. You think about your manifest, your seating manifest. What do you need to do there? I'm hearing that when and if teams come back, they're not going to go to season tickets. They're going to sell single game tickets so they can really control the manifest. So it's a whole new world, at least in the short term. But things will come back. I mean, everyone loves the live business, and hopefully sooner than later.
So then, to that point, if I could piggyback off of Gary's question, between now and then, where does culture live? Because if you're a budding artist and you haven't quite broken through, you needed the smaller radio shows, you needed to open for so-and-so at the 1,200 seat amphitheaters. You don't have any of that now. So as a company, how are you all taking some of your smaller artists and making sure that they're able, that pot can still simmer until it's time to put them back out on the road and not go cold?
It's a great question, Roy. We've been very busy with our emerging artists. We have a very sizable platform, branded EQ, and then obviously we've got over 190 artists when you think of our label and artist management. And many of our artists have stayed engaged. They have, they're breaking new music. They're doing it in non-traditional ways. We have a big promotional department here that is making sure those songs and that new music is being heard. There's different platforms now that are helping to activate our artists. And I'm thrilled with how relevant, they've stayed. I mean, you look at a Fat Joe as an example, who's a Roc Nation artist starting an Instagram show and has done extremely well. I mean, Alicia Keys has done everything right. When you think about how she's engaged with her fan base. you know, which has been very purpose driven. Some, you know, artists have decided to sit on the sideline, but many have decided this is an opportunity for me to build my profile, engage with my fan base, utilize the power and influence of social media. And we have a very sizable social media department here that obviously works very closely with our artists, both emerging and established. So that's been a big part of what we've been doing over the last couple of months, making sure that our artists are staying relevant, they're staying active and busy, and finding non-traditional ways for them to do it.
Brett, in last couple of minutes here, any insight, you've obviously talking to a lot of athletes and artists, you've been around it pretty much your whole career, you know, any interesting insight, whether pro or con, like, wow, I didn't realize artists really needed X, or athletes have surprisingly stayed in shape or not, or anything kind of interesting on that front?
Yeah, you know, it is interesting. I've always been a fitness guy, as you know, and I've always advocated a healthy lifestyle. And what I've seen with
by the way, I apologize for interrupting. Everybody can't see it. Roy, I need you to know this. Brett's in shape. He's in real shape.
Ripped.
No,
Yeah,
I am
ripped.
in real shape. I will say that.
Very
humbly, I'm in good shape.
Look what he just said. He's in real
Show
shape.
the pecs, man. Go ahead and raise up a little bit.
Take
Show
off
the
the
chest.
shirt.
Show us a little bit of the.
Take off your shirt, Brett. Go ahead.
You know, Gary, if you want to see me make my runs in the Hamptons, you can see it.
Listen, I'm scared. I'm scared of how I don't even want to come near you, because then we might have to compare, and I'm not interested in that fight. You are in real shape. Go ahead.
Well, but I will tell you this. I've been pleasantly surprised how many of our artists have taken onto this whole fitness craze and wellness. Artists. And, you know, I'm a big advocate of it. And you know, given the world we live in now, and I think everyone's gravitated to wellness and living a healthy lifestyle. It doesn't guarantee you anything, but it gives you a fighting shot. And I think artists and athletes have seen that. I've spoken to a couple of GMs in the NBA, and they were surprised by how well conditioned the athletes are coming back into camp. And I'm seeing it obviously with our artists. You know, they have used this time to really transform themselves. I mean, one artist in particular who has gone through an incredible transformation is Yo Gotti. I mean, yeah, I've never seen someone go through what he's done. And one of our athletes, you've probably seen recent photos of CC Sabathia. I mean, what he has done, I mean, he looks better now than he ever looked when he played the game.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that from a lot of athletes and artists.
Did you see Carmelo Anthony, that photo? I
have like, not seen that one.
You have to see this photo. It's like, you know, it's unbelievable what kind of, like, how he's lost a significant amount. I'm dying to see what it means. It's going to be intriguing. I'm ready for bubble basketball. I'm ready for bubble basketball.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, I'm excited about it. It'll be very interesting. I think Adam Silver and the league have done an incredible job creating a very safe environment for the players. And I'm really looking forward to July 30th when it all tips off.
And by the way, just the bubble life, some of the content. I mean, these basketball players, I mean, people forget they're kids.
Yes.
You know, we hold them up. Like somebody hit me up yesterday. And was like, can you, I'm like, the kid you're yelling at right now is 19. I'm like, do you know what you were doing when you were 19? Like it's we forget, but some of the content is just hilarious.
No, the content's been great. And I will say, I admire all the athletes that are in that bubble. I mean,
me too.
It's not an easy thing.
And I also really admire the athletes, both in baseball and basketball, that are opting out because they're having a baby, because they have I just have a lot of compassion and respect on both fronts. And obviously a lot of it's circumstantial to family dynamics. And please.
You bring up a good point. You know, I think the other thing that we've all realized, and I did too on a personal level, I have 2 children, that there's nothing that replaces family. Nothing. And it's got to be family first. And I think people
and you're seeing it.
Are gravitating to that notion now. And to your point, you know, those that are putting family before anything else, you've got to admire that move.
The most for me, because you know they're competitors. You know,
absolutely.
You know. I mean, I know this because I would, if I was given the gift of being that, I would have, and I had a family situation, I would have picked family and let it be on the record. It would be killing me because I'm that animal. I'm that athlete. I need to be on that court. So I just have a lot of admiration for that.
Agreed.
have a lot of admiration for you too, Brett. I can't wait to see you again soon.
Right back at you. Thank you, everybody.